Alright, today we're going to be learning about equations of circles. We will be able to write the equation of a circle given information graphically or visually, and graph a circle given the equation. So some vocabulary. A circle is a set of points that are all equidistant, meaning the same distance, from a fixed point called the center. So this point right here is the center. And every single point around the circle is the same distance from there to the center. A radius is the distance from the center to any point on the circle. So that's a radius, or that's a radius, or that's a radius. Radii, which is the plural of a radius, all the radii in the same circle are congruent. The diameter is the distance across a circle through the center. So something like that, all the way across. The equation of the standard form of a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. This is pretty important. We're going to use it pretty much all day. So if we wanted to write, so x and y are any point on the circle, and h and k are the center, and r is the length of the radius. So here, the center of the circle is right here. We will figure out where the middle is, and that's at 2, 0. The radius, so from this point to any dot on the outside of the circle, when you're counting the radius, I would go straight up, straight down, left, or right. Don't go diagonally. So this is 1, 2, 3 spaces, so the radius is 3. To write our equation, x and y are going to stay in the equation. I'm going to subtract h, which is the x part of the center, so x minus 2 squared on the outside, plus y minus k, that's the y part of our center, squared equals the radius squared. So we're going to simplify the parts we can. X minus 2 squared, there's nothing we can change there. Y minus 0 would just be y, so this is just going to be y squared. And 3 squared is 9. So that's the equation of our circle. If we wanted to do it for this circle up here, our center's at 0, 0. And again, it has a radius of 3. So it would be x squared plus y squared equals 9. So what if we're given the equation and we want to find the center, radius, and diameter? So the center is going to use these numbers here. Now if you notice, our center was at positive 2, 0, but we had a minus 2 in our equation, and that's because we had a minus up here. So the center is going to be the opposite of what it looks like. So if we have minus 3 and plus 5, our center is at 3, negative 5. For our radius isn't 4 because that's r squared. So to get the radius, we have to square root the 4, which would give us 2. The diameter is 2 times r, so 2 times 2 would give us a diameter of 4. So I'm going to mark our center, 3, -5. And then I'm going to go 2 in each direction. 2 to the right, 2 up, 2 left, and 2 down. And I'm going to do my best to connect the dots in a circle. In number 3, since there's no number with x in parentheses, we know the x part of our center is 0. -2, we know our center's at 0, 2. Radius is the square root of the last number. Square root of 16 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8, so our diameter is 8. Again, go and mark your center, 0, 2, and then I'm going to count 4 in each direction. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And connect the dots. This time it gives us information and asks us to write the equation. So just going to rewrite our formula so it's on this page so we can see it. This formula is on your SOL formula sheet, so you don't need to memorize it. So our center, remember that's our h and our k. So we'd have x minus 9 squared plus y minus -8 squared equals the square root of 5 squared. So let's simplify what we can. X minus 9 squared won't change. Y minus negative is the same as plus, so we're going to change it to y plus 8 squared. And if we square a square root, they undo each other, so our end would be 5. This time we have to be careful because it doesn't give us the radius, it gives us the diameter. Well, the diameter is twice as long as the radius, so the radius would be 8. Now we can plug into our equation. X minus -3 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals 8 squared. Minus a negative, this would become x plus 3 squared. Y minus 0 would just be y squared, and 8 squared is 64. Number 6 says, given the center -2, 1 and a radius of 5 of a circle, determine if the point 2, 4 lies on the circle. So first we're going to write our equation. So x minus negative, we've said a couple times, would be plus 2 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 5 squared, which is 25. So that's the equation of our circle. The easiest way to determine if 2, 4 is on the circle is we're going to plug in the 2 for x and the 4 for y and see if we get 25. So plug in the 2 plus 2 squared plus 4 minus 1 squared. 2 plus 2 is 4 squared plus 4 minus 1 is 3 squared. 4 squared is 16. 3 squared is 9. 16 plus 9 is 25. That equals the 25 we had at the beginning. So yes, 2, 4 is on the circle. Write the equation of a circle that passes through the given point and whose center is on the origin. So since the center is the origin, we know the center is at 0, 0, because that's the origin of the circle. So I'm going to start plugging into my circle equation. Remember, the center is h and k. Since we don't know the radius, we're going to plug in our point as x and y. So x minus h squared plus y minus, we said y was 3 minus 0 squared. And that will equal r squared. Negative 2 minus 0 is negative 2 squared. 3 minus 0 is 3 squared. Negative 2 squared is 4. Plus 3 squared is 9. So we get that r squared is 13. If we want just the radius, we need to square root it, so the radius is the square root of 13. Now when we go to plug into our equation, we don't need the point anymore. We're going to use the center, and I'm going to use the r squared because that's what goes at the end of our equation anyways. So x minus h, x minus 0 would just be x squared. Y minus 0 is just y squared equals 13. If we wanted to graph it, we know the center is at 0, 0, and our point is at negative 2, 3. And then we can make a circle around. Write the equation of the circle given two endpoints of a diameter. So we need to find the center and the radius this time. So let's start by plotting the 2 points. Negative 1, 5, and negative 5, negative 3. Okay, so since the diameter crosses through the middle, wherever the middle is between these 2 points, that'll be the center. So you might be able to see it. If we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and over 4, so it's 8 and 4. We only want to go halfway, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. That's the center of our circle. So negative 3, 1. So that's the h and the k for our equation. So I'm going to go ahead and fill it in. X plus 3 squared plus y minus 1 squared. So we need to find the radius and the radius squared. So we're going to plug one. You can use either of these points as your x and your y. I'm just going to use these ones because they were first. So negative 1 plus 3 squared plus 5 minus 1 squared equals r squared. Negative 1 plus 3 is 2 squared. 5 minus 1 is 4 squared. 2 squared is 4. 4 squared is 16. So that means 20 equals r squared, which will go right here on the end of our equation. But for the radius, it would be the square root of 20. And the square root of 20 is approximately 4.5. That's all for today. I'll see you in